Someone made a decision in 48 BCE that erased centuries of human thought, and they had no idea what they were destroying. Julius Caesar arrived in Alexandria during a civil war. Egypt's throne was contested. Two siblings fought for control. Caesar backed one. The other's forces barricaded themselves in the harbor district near the docks where the library stood. What Caesar faced wasn't a philosophical question about knowledge preservation. It was a tactical problem: how to dislodge an entrenched enemy from a densely packed port city with limited siege equipment. His soldiers set fires to break the blockade. The fires spread, warehouses burned, grain ships ignited, and somewhere in the chaos, historians still debate the exact moment flames reached the library's collection. Not all of it. Estimates vary wildly. Some scholars argue only a portion burned that day. Others claim the real destruction came later, across centuries, through neglect and successive raids. The point isn't precision about the numbers. The point is this: no one was thinking about posterity when they held the torch. So here's the first hard question. What does it mean that we lost irreplaceable knowledge not through malice, but through the friction of survival? Caesar didn't torch the library to erase thought. He was solving an immediate problem: how to win a war he was already winning. The decision-maker didn't weigh the cost in ancient texts. He weighed it in soldiers' lives, in supply lines, in the next 3 days of combat. That's the Stoic insight buried here. The Stoics didn't believe in mourning what was never in your control. Epictetus, who lived 2 centuries after Alexandria burned, taught that external things, property, reputation, knowledge preserved in libraries, are not yours to protect. What's yours is your judgment, your response, your effort in this moment. But that doesn't mean the loss teaches nothing. In fact, it teaches the opposite. The burning of Alexandria reveals something about knowledge itself. It's fragile, temporary, and constantly under pressure from forces you can't predict. Scrolls don't survive wars, books don't survive floods, digital files don't survive server failures. The medium changes. The vulnerability stays the same. Here's what this costs you practically. If you believe wisdom exists only in books, in credentials, in institutions, you're betting on permanence. You're assuming the system will hold. But systems fail, libraries burn, universities close. The internet goes down, institutions lose focus. What then? The Stoics had a different strategy. They didn't hoard wisdom in scrolls, they lived it. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations not for publication. He wrote them for himself, to clarify his own thinking under pressure. Seneca wrote letters to friends. The wisdom was in the practice, the habit, the daily application, not in the permanence of the archive. So the second question becomes, if Alexandria's loss teaches impermanence, what knowledge is worth pursuing? Not the kind that depends on external preservation. The kind that lives in your judgment, your habits, your character. The kind you can't lose because it's not stored anywhere, it's practiced everywhere. This doesn't mean ignoring books. It means inverting your dependency. Read widely, yes. Learn from texts, absolutely. But don't treat the text as the goal. Treat it as a tool for building judgment, your ability to see clearly, decide wisely, act decisively under pressure. That's what survives the fire. The third question: how do you practice this in a world that tells you everything depends on credentials, archives, and institutional validation? You acknowledge the pressure, you see it clearly, and you build a parallel competence, the kind no fire can touch. Learn the craft, practice the skill, make decisions, face consequences, adjust. This isn't about rejecting formal education. It's about understanding that formal education is a starting point, not a vault. The vault always burns eventually. What matters is what you can carry in your judgment. Alexandria also teaches you something about leverage and timing. The library wasn't destroyed by ignorance or hatred of knowledge. It was destroyed because it existed in a place where power shifted violently. Geography matters. Proximity to conflict matters. Sometimes wisdom survives not because it's preserved well, but because it's distributed widely. The Stoics understood this too. They didn't build one monument to wisdom. They scattered it. Zeno taught in the Stoa. Epictetus taught as a slave, informally. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire. The ideas moved through conversation, through example, through people, not through a single institution vulnerable to collapse. What does this cost you if you ignore it? You build a single point of failure in your own development. You rely on one mentor, one institution, one source of validation. When that burns, and eventually something will, you're stranded. You have credentials but no judgment. You have knowledge but no wisdom. The practical move: Diversify your sources of wisdom. Read across schools. Learn from people, not just books. Build relationships with people who challenge you. Practice skills that force you to decide and live with the consequences. Distribute your learning so that no single loss cripples you. The final question, knowing that knowledge is fragile and institutions fail, how do you pursue wisdom without despair? The answer is the core of Stoicism. You don't pursue permanence. You pursue clarity. You don't ask, will this last forever? You ask, can I use this now to think better, decide better, act better? Alexandria burned. Thousands of texts disappeared. We can't recover them. We can't change that decision Caesar made under pressure 2,000 years ago. What we can do is learn the lesson embedded in the loss. Wisdom isn't found in libraries alone. It's found in judgment. It's found in practice. It's found in the choices you make today, knowing full well that tomorrow's fire might come for everything else. That's the inheritance Alexandria left us. Not a library. A question, what wisdom are you building that no fire can burn? Subscribe if you want to build wisdom that survives. Every week we dig into how ancient thinkers solved the problems you face today.